Okay, so welcome everyone to this MBA Health Open Day. I'm Professor Julie Davies, the MBA Health Director, and what we're going to do for the next hour or so is just to go through an overview of who we are, what kind of students we're looking for, and we'll have some Q&A at the end, or you can put some comments in the chat as well. So I'll just do this presentation and then we can open the mics. Okay, so we're in a almost 200-year-old University College London. So you can see here the front quad, portico, with one of our incoming MBA students from Saudi Arabia. But we're a startup business school. So the new Global Business School for Health has been going for a past year. So we have the agility of a startup, as well as the traditions and the reputation of a very established, globally ranked university. So what I'm going to do is give you an overview of who we are, why we have chosen to develop the world's first MBA health program, the career support, and we will be providing you with actual details of the various modules and activities in the program, information about financial aid and scholarships, several upcoming webinars and events that you can join in, and Q&A. So we are #1 in the world for education, the Institute of Education. We're 4th in Europe and the UK, 7th globally for medicine. So we have a very significant track record of academic excellence, but also of inclusion. So we were one of the first universities in England to allow women admissions, and also people from outside the Church of England. So we continue that ethos very much in the name of Jeremy Bentham, who had a particular view of the world about utilitarianism. So we're very focused on impact, not just producing academic research papers, but also making a difference. And we have very close links in the Global Business School for Health with health organizations. So for instance, the CEO of University College London Hospitals is one of our module presenters on the management of change. And he's always available to help students and give them advice and help them with networks. So we were founded in 2021. We're moving to the brand new UCL East Campus, which is opening in a couple of weeks' time. We also teach in 1 Canada Square in Canary Wharf this year. We have an MBA online, an executive MBA launching next year, PhD programs, and a DBA in health, as well as 3 MSCs that tend to attract people who have just graduated. So you'll find they're probably a bit younger than you if you join us. So our mission is to really be at the intersection of health, healthcare, business, and management. So when you graduate, you should be really like a T-shaped professional. You've got the specialism of your first or second degree, so you may be a clinician or you may not, but you've also got the breadth of being able to speak multiple languages. So the language of health, the language of business, the language of management consulting, the language of entrepreneurship, the language of digital health, the language of dealing with government, so that you can speak multiple languages, because it's not just enough to produce a fantastic app, for instance, and hope somebody's going to buy it. You have to negotiate the political landscape of getting investors and getting people within health systems to buy your product or service. So it's very much about interdisciplinarity, internationality. We have a great team of international faculty as well as international students, and about doing business ethically within different health ecosystems around the world. So we're very closely linked clearly with the UN SDG 3, which is about ensuring healthy lives and promoting well-being for people at all ages, as well as the other SDGs related to inequalities and so on. So at the moment, we only offer graduate programs as well as executive education short programs and consulting, and obviously very strongly underpinned by research because we're a research intensive university. And clearly this is one of the key businesses to be in. We've seen massive shortages of healthcare workers, post-pandemic, a huge shift to telehealth, and clearly the cost of living crisis is straining healthcare systems globally, and we're mainly getting older in most parts of the world. And actually non-communicable diseases, lifestyle diseases are making healthcare systems expensive. Healthcare workers are burning out. And a lot of national policy systems are working towards, better universal healthcare. So if you look at our website, you can start to see some of the incoming MBA students. For example, this is a student who has a PhD, who's actually an engineer already in the UK, but from China, who wants to build links in health between Asia and Europe. So Chong Sui is actually doing the program part-time over 2 years. So basically, we're the first business school totally dedicated to health, to educate the next generation of health and healthcare managers and leaders. We're reimagining global healthcare management and leadership, unraveling issues from a business perspective. So most of the case studies you do, every academic or practitioner and conversation, we build in not just business with a bit of health, but very strongly all the way through health and business. And ultimately, as professionals, we expect you to volunteer, to give back, and inspire change for the public good. So hopefully we get you at master's level. It's very important to develop critical thinkers, insider researchers. So the ability to ask good questions for me is a critical aspect of an MBA student or any kind of leader. So of course, there are many programs around the world that have a little bit of health. And I guess if you want to meet people outside the healthcare sector, maybe you'd want to do a general MBA. But we also have, I would say, at least a quarter of our students are not clinicians. So you will also get that on the specific MBA Health. So Kim Clark, who was Dean of Harvard, commented that medicine and business now are intertwined. We've got fantastic medical technologies changing the way healthcare is delivered. The cost of medications clearly is an issue. So for example, we have the chair of Glaxo coming to one of our very first modules in strategy in October. And clearly an understanding of both fields really puts you ahead of the game. And it's a very complex sector. So health, is a massive sector. A cross-disciplinary approach is important. And we're getting doctors and dentists, nurses, other clinicians who have really excelled in studying in the medical curriculum and worked for maybe a decade or so, but they realize they want to change the system. They want to influence the system. They want to contribute, innovate, and become leaders, not just clinical leaders, but in the boardroom, executives. So here's Angel Gonzalez de la Fuente, who's a Spanish doctor, who's already actually completed 2 master's programs, one of them in London, but is very keen, and he's joining us in a few weeks' time. So usually people come to do an MBA, certainly I did mine, because they're rather dissatisfied with the status quo. So maybe you want to accelerate your career where you already are, so you'll go back to your current job, or you want to pivot, you want to change, maybe do some management consulting for a while, do something different. But essentially it's about you are the case study, and it's about your personal and professional development. So we want to build your confidence, your competencies, your connections, so that you're not just very good at managing yourself and excelling and being successful, but you're managing teams and organizational success. And maybe during your career, if we have, we're going to live to 100 or whatever, we have a long career, you may combine consulting, clinical practice, working with government at the same time or at different stages in your career. So hopefully this fast-tracked and developed your competencies, for example, in decision-making and networking, which are very important transferable skills. So clearly we're looking with people who are slightly dissatisfied with the status quo. You have ambitions to change things for the better. So you may already be in healthcare, or you may be looking to move into healthcare, or you may be in an acute hospital and you in the public sector and you want to move into pharmaceutical or another part of the sector. But what all our students have in common is that they want to make a difference in healthcare and they want to move up at higher levels. So as you can see from our student spotlights, we tend to have students in their mid-30s. We do have a student who's 50. So they've had some work experience already. And this may be voluntary work during your studies. It may be voluntary work while you're working. So it's not necessarily full-time work. You can build up work in different forms, maybe do internships, clearly add those up from your working experience. So Alex is a psychiatrist. She actually did her medical studies at UCL, and she's very interested in gaining general management insights. So really you're going to have a very intensive year or 2 years, depending whether you do full or part-time in London, and it's kind of a boot camp. So we have classes 1 o'clock to 6 o'clock for 4 weeks and 4 weeks. So 2 lots of 4 weeks in term 1, 2 lots of 4 weeks in term 2 for the full time. And then you finish your consulting projects from the beginning of April and submit those in June and September. So it's quite intense during those afternoons. And clearly around that, we have a residential school that's from Friday to Sunday before you kick off. And you will be working with your fellow students, preparing case studies and critiquing articles outside those in-person classes. We're very much focused on developing you and your soft skills, like negotiating skills, your presentation, branding skills. So building up your credibility. So you may be fairly early career and you want to gain confidence and knowledge, or you may be mid-career where you've been doing the same thing for quite a while and think, well, maybe there's something else out there. I need to accelerate my understanding. And it is a fantastic university. I worked in it twice. I joined back in February, but I worked here for 5 years before, and I actually love UCL. It has a really great ethos. You meet people from languages, from history, not just STEM, which I think is very important in solving issues. And the Ucl East Campus is very interdisciplinary. So it's 8th in the world. You've got a very, very strong brand that you can put on your LinkedIn, in your CV, that will be part of your personal brand. And it's excelled in the Research Excellence Framework results that were published recently. And it's also very, excelling in economics, not just STEM. So 60% of our research, at least at UCL, is on medicine and health. So it's not just something we think about, occasionally. It's something we talk about, live and breathe all the time. So we're located in the Faculty of Population and Health Sciences. So clearly we're in a global city. We have access to world-class leading academics as well as practitioners, and people fly in. We have lots of contacts from other parts of the world as well. So our program is full of resources that will help you engage with the sector. And very importantly, we have executives in residence, and I'll give you a few of their names later on in the slide. So these are people you can access at any time. You'll be assigned, or you choose actually, a mentor who you see twice a term. We also have recruitment agencies, executive search firms, careers professionals helping us. And obviously, if there are 40,000 students enrolling every year at UCL, there are huge alumni networks globally and in your own countries that will really last a lifetime. So most of our students are from overseas, but we do have a few like Alex, I've just shown you, and Martine, who are based in the UK. So Martine is a general practitioner and has run GP practices in the northeast of England. So typically, you've worked a bit, so you know what you're about and what you want to change. You have a good academic or clinical background, you want to move ahead with your career, and you want to network internationally. And clearly careers have changed. I've changed careers several times in my life. Did my PhD quite late at Warwick in strategic management. So hopefully you've got that mindset, you know, that you are flexible and open to opportunities. So we've got a keynote speech, for example, in our induction week from someone at McKinsey partner. We've got a former health minister who's going to speak, who's Secretary of State for Health. We've also got pharmaceutical people. We've got Jim Campbell, who's on the World Health Organization, on our board. We've also got a lot of entrepreneurs as well. So hopefully we can supply what you want within our community already. And if there are other people you'd like us to bring into our community, we're very well placed for that, because if you're at UCL, people are very willing to be involved with UCL and to speak with you. So clearly we're interested in working with bankers, investors, but also non-profits and social enterprises and charities. And I guess the key point from the left is that in many countries, expenditure on health is at least 10%. In the US, it's almost double that. So clearly, as taxpayers, we're all interested in how funding for health is spent and how our governments are using it wisely. So we start at UCL with an induction week at the very end of September, and then we kick off with teaching at the very beginning of October. And as I said, there are two options, two modes, but only one point of entry. We're based in UCL East in the Olympic Park, Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park. And with the new Elizabeth line that's just opened this year, it's much easier to move around London now, east-west. And that's the fee without scholarship funding. So these are the dates we've put forward for 23-24, the UCL term dates. There's induction week as well as preparatory work before that. And then we have these 6 teaching blocks. So as I said, we kick off in October, we do strategy, people and marketing. You have a week for each of those, and then you have a wrap-up week. So that makes 4 weeks. You have a group presentation. So at the moment, we are working on a case study called Proximi. Proximi was founded by a female surgeon who graduated from UCL and now has her own business in augmented reality in operating rooms around the world. So we're actually presenting to the head of strategy for Proximi, who will come in person with his marketing person. And then we write this case study a few weeks later as an individual exercise. And again, Proximi is very interested in our findings. Then you move on to accounting and reporting, another 4 weeks with the convener there is Professor Nora Colton, who's director of the Global Business School for Health. Then you go away, have a break, write your essays, and then we go overseas. So we have a 2-week fieldwork project, either in Saudi, India, or Egypt. And we'll be working on this project the whole year, but that's an opportunity to familiarize yourself in a particular country. So we'll decide who goes where in consultation with you. Then you come back at the end of January, you do health economics, data analytics, and sustainability for 4 weeks with an assignment. Then you have another break. And then we move on to more general issues, so contemporary topics in health and healthcare. So we look at healthcare systems, change management, innovation and health, with people from GEC, from CEOs, someone from Harvard. So we've got some really interesting practitioners that bring together some of the functional areas you've looked at, the 3 first teaching blocks. And then the rest of the time is you working on your group project, that's your country project, and that's submitted at the beginning of June. And then finally, the very end of August, you submit your individual consulting project. Okay, so this kind of explains some of the primer courses. Some people are not very confident in economics, accounting, and so on. So we have those, you can engage in those with self-study before you arrive. So a little bit about the Global Health Challenge. So it's a team project. It's in a low or middle income country. It's 2 weeks in the field, and a supervisor travels with you. So I will take the Saudi group, and we have links there with Prince Sultan University, and clearly there's a 2030 vision that Saudi is very focused on. My deputy, Dr. Pretty John, and Dr. Radhika Jain, who's come to us from Stanford, we'll be doing Delhi and one other city, and our links with AIMS there. And Professor Nora Colton, who's an economic development specialist and an Arabic speaker, studied at Oxford for her PhD, will take students to Cairo and one other city. So basically, this is to familiarize yourself with like an overview of health ecosystems to build your consulting skills. And we're going to be looking particularly at health ecosystems, so how acute, primary, different bits of ecosystems, governments work together, particularly in relation to our non-communicable diseases. And that will develop your consulting skills in a team, but then also you have to develop your consulting skills on your own project. So you might have a project that you bring with you that your workplace wants you to do, or you might choose a project. So we are in talks with various organizations and individuals. We have an open day where you meet these individuals because we want you to decide quite early what you're going to do. And hopefully this will help you very much once you graduate. Really, it should be something maybe you can publish, you can blog about, you can make podcasts, you can really promote yourself. So you need to choose that very carefully, and we need to sign that off. And obviously it has to be manageable within the year. So formally, what do we need? We need you to have an undergraduate qualification, a 2-1 degree equivalent in the UK or overseas equivalent. If you don't have that, you have to demonstrate extensive work experience that's relevant. You need IELTS at 6.5 or above, with no area less than 6. So you can take IELTS multiple times. I had one student, I think she took it about 5 times, that she kept getting 8 in one thing and 5.5 in another. She was so desperate to come that eventually she got through. So 2 to 3 years work experience, and we need you to take Gmat, but in some ways it's not critical what score you get. That is not a deciding factor. We look at you overall. So we interview everybody one-to-one on MS Teams. So that is a very important part of the process, to understand your journey so far and how you're looking forward. And we need 2 references. So Gmat can be done online. And it's mainly the fact that you've done the Gmat, not necessarily how brilliantly you've done in that. And that really tests your kind of writing skills, verbal reasoning, quantitative skills, and so on. And you can try that various times. And these really are the interview questions. So there shouldn't be any major surprises. We want to know something about yourself, your story, your motivations to take up this opportunity. What is it that you can contribute to the program? Why do you stand out? Your expectations, some evaluation, some self-evaluation of your own strengths and weaknesses, and where you might like to be in a few years after you graduate. So there are various rounds of interviews. If we offer you a place, there is a deposit to be paid, and that's refundable if you have any major life crises and you really can't come. But we once you're being offered a program place, then we meet with you monthly online. So we give you the opportunity to get to know your other student peers, and we also have an MBA LinkedIn offer holders group. So we update you regularly. In fact, most Fridays we send out some kind of general information and things for you to read. There is scholarship funding. We're very lucky last year that Roche gave a complete scholarship plus £20,000. We'll see whether they can do that again this year. And Tamina Anjuman was very lucky in being awarded this scholarship. We also have lots of other scholarships within the business school. So we have up to £15,000 related to the Future Impact Leader Scholarship. We have a Women Scholarship, and we have one linked to East London. So there will be a scholarship webinar and information on the website. There are clearly other scholarships at UCL, so you can look at UCL generally, and different countries, China, India. If you're a member of the Commonwealth, there are other, and the US federal funding. There are other scholarships, so you could have 3 or 4 scholarships to make up, your funding. And clearly, some people, they're lucky. Saudi Arabia fund STEM MBAs in full. So they're fully funded. So again, here's an example of one of our students. Han is from Malaysia. He's a senior nurse in Singapore. He's been talking to one of our executives in residence and being fixed up for an internship in a consulting firm for his 3rd term. So we obviously have lots of support within UCL itself, and these primer courses we've mentioned here. So careers is not an afterthought for MBA. From the very first week, we talk to you one-on-one about your careers plans. And if you want to apply for a consulting firm, you have to do that by Christmas. So our very first Wednesday, Wednesdays are for general development, research methods, project skills. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday in the teaching weeks are for the specific subjects, so strategy, people marketing, and so on. So I've got Simon Hammett, who used to work at Deloitte as a partner. Very first Wednesday, he's working with you on, for those of you interested in careers in management consulting and just general careers advice. So this is an example of the kind of people, and you can see the full list on our website, who are closely linked to GBSH and are willing to help our students and our faculty. So already with Han, he asked me for some help about management consulting. I put him in touch with Sarah Siegel, who's at Deloitte. We're going to visit with our students the Cleveland Clinic in London, Brian Donnelly again. These are available for advice. Clearly, we don't want you bothering them every 5 minutes, but they're very happy to help in their busy lives. And we have very strong links, as I said, to UCLH. And David Probert will be teaching you. So he heads 5 hospitals, and one of them is around the corner from the main UCL campus. So clearly, we want you to work hard and learn a lot, but we also want you to relax and have healthy kind of student lives. So there's a lot going on at UCL, as you can imagine. This is the main campus in Bloomsbury. Lots of student unions will have student clubs within GBSH, ranging from sport to amnesty to volunteering. And clearly we know from the pandemic, mental health has been a key issue for students and people in the health sector. So there's also well-being support, and we're going to be in the park physically, so we want to make use of the park. You have the student union. I wasn't born in London, but I've lived most of my life in London and traveled a lot around the world. And the more I travel, the more I appreciate London. It is an amazing city. There's lots of things you can do free. It's a very green city as well. You can walk around the city. Lots of music, culture. It's the political capital, it's the financial capital, it's the cultural capital. Unlike Paris or other cities in the world, the second city is much smaller than the capital city. So you can get out of London quite easily to other parts of the country, Scotland, Manchester, Ireland, and so on. You can get the Eurostar around the corner from UCL and go for lunch in France if you want, in Paris. And it's got a great social life, which is why it's been ranked top city for students in the UK in 2021 and probably 2022 as well. And we are in a great location as well. We're near in the park and in Bloomsbury. So this is an example of some of our graduation ceremonies there. And we have lots of alumni links, as you would imagine. This is just some examples related to China, but clearly there are other parts of the world. And if you really can't come to London, maybe you're already in the UK, you can work around. So you can work 20 hours a week on your Tier 4 visa. Clearly, if you're a clinician or you already have a job in the UK, as long as you can join us between 1 and 6, and you can go for the 2-week overseas travel, you can work and study on the full-time MBA or part-time MBA. We're launching this executive MBA, which is, I guess, more flexible. It will be totally online, except for 1 week in the UK each year, 1 week in the UK and 1 week probably in the US. So you can continue to work full time. You don't have to move house or move to London or leave your family. So this is another option for those of you who haven't. And it's very, very similar to the MBA, except Block 3 is focused on executive leadership. So there's more about leadership and than on the, perhaps, initially on the other MBA. We also have a doctorate in business administration. You can do a DBA, which is for practitioners. So that takes place over 5 years, and you write kind of a thesis after you've done these kind of formal training programs. So that is only part-time, because we assume you will continue to work or do other things. And we have a PhD, which you can do. Many of the people I've been interviewing recently have been full-time, but you could maybe do that part-time as well. We also have, in the meantime, if you're looking to join us next September, we will have lots of activities when you can start to get to know us. We also have in-person events. So these are activities upcoming in October. So you've got scholarships and funding information session, and you can look online to see what else is coming up. This is just a screenshot of our MBA get-togethers. So some of the students, Philippos is from Greece, Alexandra is from Zimbabwe, originally went to Harvard, is now actually working at UCL. Jenny, on the bottom line, middle line on the right, she's one of our accounting academics. May is an Egyptian quality assurance manager in the UK. There's a guy from Hungary, China. This guy at the bottom is an accountant, and Pretty, with the UCL behind it, is the deputy director of the MBA Health program. So we will be in the East Campus once it's finally built. There are 2 new buildings in UCL East. One of them is ready this year, which is not our building, but we'll be using it. And then the UCL GBSH building level floor will be in the second one when you join us. And this slide here is the longest indoor closed slide in the world, which I went down the other week. So it's a great park, great location, biggest shopping center in Europe, I think. This is Nora Colton. So this is some of the activities. She's director of GBSH. She was interviewing Mark Britnell from KPMG. And this is on YouTube to help people prepare for the MBA. Okay, really to sum up, I hope I've given you a good overview that we are a very reputable institution. We are very agile and willing, to co-create the curriculum with you. So all these people, there are other examples. We have about 30 students joining us this year, are examples of students who decided, they do want to do something different and join us. So I'm going to stop the presentation now. So I can already see there's some Q&A questions already. So you can put some comments in the Q&A. And we have a relatively small group here too. So I can also give you a microphone if I can work out how to do that. But you can also email me if you wish for a one-to-one informal chat before you formally apply to UCL. Okay, so I hope that's been helpful. All right, let's just have a look at the questions. Okay, so Lynn, glad you're coming to us from Singapore. So the course fee is 45,000. That is the actual fee. Other people are paying less because of their scholarships. Edison, you're asking about Toefl. Yes, I think in the criteria, Toefl is available as well as IELTS. So yes, you can check on the website what's required for that. Okay, I think that's all the questions we've had so far. So let's see the attendees. So David, Emma, Indri, Joy, Kerry, Nyesha, Oscar. I'll set you up so that you're allowed to talk. Tessa, I just have to do this individually, I think. So if you do want to take the microphone, if you can see your microphone, Kerry, Joy, feel free to talk or put up your hand, because it's nice to have some interactions. And this will be recorded. I mean, this is being recorded, so you can go back to it. Shahid, yes, go ahead. Joy, can you talk?
Oh, yes. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yeah, just about.
Thank you so much. I'm very interested in this program, and I want to ask a question relative to the entry requirement. I have no background for the healthcare in my previous degree. I studied economic and management in my bachelor and master degree. But currently I work at a consulting firm and with half-year experience relative to healthcare project. I'm not sure whether this can be considered as can be one of the people to apply this program.
Yeah, I didn't quite catch where you're working, but we do have people with marketing backgrounds who are lawyers, investment bankers. So we do have non-clinicians and people who haven't necessarily worked a lot in health, but they're definitely, want to commit to a career in health. No, we are very flexible, as long as you're happy to do lots of case studies and work on health during the year with us. So yeah, so as long as you overall meet the general entry requirements, we're happy to interview you and look at your application.
Okay, great. Actually, I have 4 years working experience with consulting industry.
Oh, great.
Currently, yeah, thank you. And currently I work at Boston Consulting Group, and I have served with half year for Japanese healthcare client. So I'm very interested in this topic, and I want to further study to enhance my industry experience and knowledge, not just like basic consulting skill. So that's why I'm interested in this program, and I'm very happy to hear that the limitation for the requirement of entry is not so high. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. So you might like to speak. So our students they join us, the end of September. So once our students have started, you're very welcome to speak to them directly as well to get advice. But certainly you're the kind of student we're very happy to interview. Thank you. Someone asked me about, someone asked me about medical students and Gmat. Rizwana, we have in the past given some waivers, but actually we ended up giving too many waivers, and officially we have to have so many students who've gone through the GMAT to be able to continue to offer the GMAT. So at the moment we're being quite strict about GMATs, people doing the GMAT, but we're not massively strict about what you get, if I'm allowed to say that in public. So at the moment we have a no GMAT waiver policy because we went too far in the first year. So that's our position at the moment, but it might change next year. We'll see how it goes, but we need to get a certain number of applicants through the GMAT and on our programs first. So we were too generous this year. So I hope that doesn't put you off applying. Okay, so now you should all be able to speak. So Emma, go ahead.
Hi, how large is the typical class size?
Very good question. So at the moment we have 30 who have signed up to come. And this year we didn't take a deposit, which is probably not a good business decision either. So we're hoping all 30 will join us. So it's not like Harvard, you're going to be 100 in a class. It's going to be around 30. 25 to 30. So we will know you very well. You won't get lost in the crowd and you'll know us very well. So I think that's a great advantage.
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
Okay, Mohammed, I'll let you talk as well. Any more questions? Okay, so I'll give you a few more minutes if you do want to ask any questions. Otherwise, feel free to contact us at any time. I mean, UCL is very friendly and very supportive. You know, we do have very high standards. So not everyone who applies can join us, but we do, you know, as much as we can to support you. And certainly once you were with us, you know, I wish somebody years ago had let me on a program like this. You know, you've got some of the best contacts really on the planet, and people like Faris here who came to see us on his vacation the other week. You know, I mean, it's very, very exciting, I think, for his career and other students' careers. So do reach out if you're in Singapore. You know, these people are on LinkedIn, so do send a direct message if you want to some of our MBA students. We'll be profiling more of them, quite a lot from GCC countries as well, Qatar and Saudi Arabia, India, Brazil, a big mix. So you can contact these people directly and ask them for advice as well as our, you know, our executives in residence will be available to you as well, more generally. Okay, so thank you very much for your time. I look forward to hearing from you. Do feel free to come to our events and any other open days that interest you over the next year. Our closing deadline, I don't think we put that up, is the 30th of June. So after that, it's very difficult to let you in to the program. So do organize yourself sufficiently to, you know, to meet that deadline. Okay, so enjoy your weekend. Thank you very much for your time. And I wish you all the best with your career plans and good luck. So thank you for now.